Mr. Chairman, I would like to begin by following up on what Minister Vivian had just shared about our relations with our closest neighbours, Malaysia and Indonesia. Mr. Chong Kee Kiong's question on how we have engaged Malaysia amidst the pandemic is a pertinent one, as our two countries are deeply intertwined. 2 years of living with COVID-19 have underscored the depth of our ties and the value of close cooperation for mutual benefit. The prolonged closure of our borders has thus had profound impact on the people on both sides, with many families and relatives separated. Given our interdependencies, the two governments have worked closely to overcome the challenges posed by COVID-19. We coordinated to ensure the sustainable movement of supplies, goods, and services, and will continue to do so. It has not been easy, and we thank our Malaysian friends, including truck drivers, who undergo regular testing to ensure that supplies reach us. We convened with Malaysia the 14th Joint Ministerial Committee for Iskandar-Malaysia on 21st December 2021, where we reaffirmed our commitment to strengthen the manufacturing ecosystem in Iskandar-Malaysia. As Malaysia's closest neighbour, Singapore always stands ready to do our part to help when needed. We contributed seed money to support the Singapore Red Cross's disaster relief and recovery efforts following the floods in Kuala Lumpur and 9 other Malaysian states in December 2021, as we had done so in previous similar instances. We are similarly very grateful for Malaysia's assistance. Recently, Malaysia helped to facilitate the departure of a Singaporean from Ukraine. Beyond our relations with the federal government, we have also maintained our ties with various Malaysian states. We have contributed medical supplies and vaccines and shared our experiences on vaccine procurement and other areas. For example, we donated over 100,000 vaccine doses and over 100,000 test kits to Johor last year and have regularly engaged the state government on the reopening of the Singapore-Johor land border. The recent land VTL between Singapore and Malaysia has provided much relief to both Malaysians and Singaporeans, as they are now able to meet their families again. Looking ahead, we will continue our engagement of Malaysian leaders and officials across all levels while working towards a further expansion of cross-border travel and reinvigorating our economic ties. Let me now move on to Singapore-Indonesia relations. Singapore and Indonesia enjoy strong and substantive relations. We have been Indonesia's largest foreign investor since 2014. In 2021, investments from Singapore reached $9.1 billion despite the pandemic. The bilateral investment treaty, which entered into force last year, will promote greater bilateral investment flows. To further deepen our economic and people-to-people links, we are exploring new areas of cooperation, such as in the digital economy, the green economy, and human capital development. We have also continued our close cooperation with the various regions across Indonesia. Our economic engagements in Batam, Bintan, and Karimun have progressed well. The Nongsa Digital Town was launched last year and is set to house 8,000 tech talents when completed. Its proximity to Singapore offers opportunities for Singapore-based companies to tap Singapore and Indonesia's complementary tech ecosystem to support their digital needs. This demonstrates Singapore and Indonesia's mutual commitment to develop Batam as a digital bridge between us. Infrastructure Asia, which was set up by ESG and MAS, is also partnering the West Java provincial government to accelerate infrastructure projects focusing on urban transportation, waste management, and water sectors. This partnership will increase the attractiveness of West Java's infrastructure projects to international investors. At the same time, it allows Singapore-based companies to better access and participate in projects in West Java. Next, let me talk about Singapore-Brunei relations. Mr. Zulkarnain Abdul Rahim asked how we have maintained our excellent relations with Brunei. We have always enjoyed a long-standing special relationship with Brunei. There remain strong links between our people, our leaders, and institutions. Minister Vivian visited Brunei in March 2021, while Senior Minister Tu Chee Hean attended the Sultan's 25th birthday celebrations in July 2021. We have also worked together to tackle the challenges of the pandemic. For instance, in September 2021, we sent 100,000 doses of the Moderna vaccines to Brunei. In exchange, Brunei will provide the same quantity of vaccines back to Singapore at a later date. Mr. Zulkarnain also asked about the highlights of Brunei's ASEAN chairmanship in 2021. Singapore appreciated Brunei's steady leadership in guiding ASEAN through a challenging year. Brunei led ASEAN's efforts to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, including utilizing the COVID-19 ASEAN Response Fund to procure much-needed vaccines for our ASEAN member states and coordinated ASEAN's response to address the situation in Myanmar. Sir, let me now move on to the Middle East. Mr. Chong Ki-hyong asked how our relations with the Gulf countries have developed. A number of our ministers, including myself, have visited the Gulf in recent months. I made a working visit to the United Arab Emirates, or UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar last October. Minister for Manpower and Second Minister for Trade and Industry, Dr. Tan See Leng, also co-chaired the inaugural Saudi-Singapore Joint Committee in December 2021, which we hope will catalyze greater trade and investment between Singapore and Saudi Arabia. In turn, the Saudi Foreign Minister, Prince Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud, visited Singapore in January 2022, his first to Southeast Asia. During his phone call with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman bin Abdul Aziz Al Saud last month, Prime Minister Lee had welcomed the deepening of ties between our two countries. Mr. Chairman, allow me to speak briefly in Malay, please. Encik Zulkarnain telah bertanya sama ada kita boleh menjangkakan ibadah haji akan disambung semula untuk jemaah haji Singapura pada tahun 2020 ini, memandangkan umrah untuk jemaah antarabangsa telah disambung semula. Saya amat gembira kerana umat Islam Singapura telah dapat melakukan perjalanan ke Saudi Arabia untuk menunaikan ibadah umrah setelah tidak dapat melakukannya untuk sebahagian besar tahun 2020 dan 2021. Saya memahami kegairahan masyarakat agar ibadah haji dapat disambung semula. Perkara ini dibincangkan semasa panggilan telefon Perdana Menteri Lee dengan Putera Mahkota Saudi baru-baru ini, di mana PM Lee meminta agar kota haji kita dinaikkan. Kami berharap untuk menerima butiran lanjut sama ada Haji 2022 akan dibuka kepada jemaah haji antarabangsa dan juga peningkatan kota haji kita. Saya difahamkan bahawa Encik Alex Yam juga ingin tahu tentang perkembangan di Timur Tengah, termasuk kesan Perjanjian Abraham atau Abraham Accords. Walaupun keadaan politik serantau walaupun keadaan geopolitik serantau Timur Tengah kekal dinamik, terdapat beberapa perkembangan positif. Selepas menandatangani Akod Abraham, hubungan antara Israel dengan UAE, Bahrain dan Morocco telah berkembang dengan cepat. Kami berharap Abraham Accords akan menjadi asas bagi keamanan dan kestabilan di rantau tersebut. Tuan, walau bagaimanapun, konflik Israel-Palestin masih belum dapat dihuraikan. Peningkatan keganasan pada bulan Mei tahun lalu antara Israel dan Hamas di Gaza adalah konflik besar yang kelima di antara mereka dalam tempoh 15 tahun. Kami turut berduka cita atas korban jiwa orang awam di kedua belah pihak. Namun begitu, keadaan di Gaza sebahagiannya adalah manifestasi persaingan politik dalam kalangan Palestin atau intra-Palestinian konflik. Tebing barat ditadbir oleh pihak berkuasa Palestin ataupun Palestine Authority PA dan dikawal oleh parti Fatah. Manakala Hamas merampas kuasa kawalan secara sahala atau unilateral ke atas Gaza pada tahun 2007. Perpecahan politik itu berterusan walaupun sudah terdapat percubaan untuk membentuk pemerintah perpaduan nasional menyatukan kedua pihak, Fatah dan Hamas. Fatah mengiktiraf hak Israel secara rasmi untuk wujud, tetapi Hamas tidak. Hamas percaya kepada konflik bersenjata. Tuan, untuk menghentikan lingkaran keganasan ini perlu wujud kesungguhan politik di antara kedua pihak itu, iaitu Israel dan Palestin, untuk mencapai persetujuan melalui rundingan damai. Singapura kekal teguh dalam sokongan kami untuk penyelesaian dua negara yang dirundingkan bagi membolehkan rakyat Israel dan Palestin hidup bersebelahan dalam keamanan dan keselamatan yang selaras dengan resolusi-resolusi Majlis Keselamatan Pertubuhan Bangsa-Bangsa Bersatu yang relevan dengan isu ini. Ini adalah satu-satunya pilihan yang mampu dilaksanakan untuk mencapai penyelesaian yang berdaya tahan, yang adil dan yang komprehensif. Encik Zulkarnain meminta laporan terkini tentang usaha MFA dalam menyokong dan membangunkan keupayaan dalam pihak berkuasa Palestin atau Palestinian Authority. Kami terus berbuat demikian melalui pakej bantuan teknikal yang telah dipertingkatkan atau Enhanced Technical Assistance Package ETAP yang telah kami gandakan daripada $5 juta kepada $10 juta pada tahun 2016. Sejauh ini, ETAP telah memberi manfaat kepada lebih 600 pegawai Palestin yang telah menyertai pelbagai kursus dalam bidang seperti pentadbiran awam, pembangunan ekonomi dan pembangunan bandar. Latihan-latihan ini telah diteruskan dalam talian buat masa ini disebabkan pandemik. Kami menawarkan beasiswa pasca siswaza untuk rakyat Palestin dalam berbagai bidang dan telah diperluaskan untuk merangkumi jurusan sains teknologi, kejuruteraan dan matematik atau STEM. Buat masa ini, terdapat 2 orang siswa dari Palestin yang sedang menuntut di peringkat sarjana di Singapura. Saya telah sempat bertemu dengan salah seorang pelajar pada minggu lalu. Beliau sedang mengikuti pengajian peringkat sarjana dalam perhubungan antarabangsa di RSIS di NTU. Kami berharap akan dapat terus melakukan lebih banyak lagi di bawah ETAP bagi menyokong pembangunan pihak berkuasa Palestin. Tuan, selain daripada perkembangan di Timur Tengah, saya ingin menyurut beberapa isu utama yang dihadapi Singapura dalam dunia yang kian kompleks dan tidak menentu hari ini. Pertama ialah situasi pandemik COVID-19. Bagi MFA, keutamaan kami ialah menghulurkan bantuan konsular kepada rakyat Singapura di luar negara. Dalam masa yang sama, kami juga mesti terus menyokong usaha serantau dan global menentang COVID-19. Kedua ialah titik penting geopolitik dan persaingan antara kuasa-kuasa utama dunia dan implikasinya kepada Singapura. Sebagai sebuah negara yang berdaulat, kami mesti terus membuat keputusan berdasarkan kepentingan negara dan prinsip-prinsip asas kami dan memperjuangkan prinsip-prinsip ini agar terus ditegakkan. Ketiga, cabaran keselamatan bukan tradisional seperti perubahan iklim dan jaminan makanan. Singapura kekal komited untuk bekerjasama dengan rakan-rakan kami secara dua hala dan juga melalui forum pelbagai hala seperti ASEAN untuk menangani cabaran-cabaran bukan tradisional ini. Keempat, menjaga hubungan baik dengan jiran-jiran kami untuk menggalakkan keamanan dan keselamatan serantau. Dan kelima, mendukung kewibawaan ASEAN untuk berusaha ke arah penyelesaian yang aman dan tahan lama di Myanmar melalui pelaksanaan konsensus 5 mata atau 5-point consensus. Mr. Chairman, allow me to continue my speech in English, please. Mr. Henry Kwek sought to an update on our ties with other Southeast Asian countries. We enjoy warm and friendly relations with our fellow ASEAN member states, including Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, Cambodia, and Laos. Just last week, we welcomed Vietnamese President Nguyen Xuan Phuc for his state visit to Singapore. We will continue to closely engage and pursue collaborative interests in our Southeast Asian partners, including the diversification of our food and energy options, as well as in emerging areas such as digital economy and sustainable development. For example, in April 2021, MAS and Bank of Thailand launched the linkage of Singapore's PayNow and Thailand's PromptPay, the first of its kind in the world for cross-border real-time retail payment, which has brought convenience to users from both countries. We will continue to be a steadfast friend to during both good and trying times. When Typhoon Rai struck the Philippines in December 2021, we contributed seed money to support the Singapore Red Cross's public fundraising to disaster relief and recovery efforts. This brings me to ASEAN. ASEAN remains a cornerstone of Singapore's foreign policy, and we will continue to build up ASEAN's resilience and responsiveness to future public health emergencies and support ASEAN's post-pandemic recovery. For example, ASEAN Trade Corridor Arrangement Framework, when operationalized, will allow for the safe resumption of travel, both for business and leisure, within the region. ASEAN also continues to serve as a vital regional architecture for external powers to engage ASEAN member states and one another. In 2021, ASEAN established a comprehensive strategic partnership with China and Australia and held an ASEAN-China Special Summit in November. We are now discussing similar proposals by the US and India, and the US has invited ASEAN leaders to a ASEAN-US Special Summit this year. Given ASEAN's importance, Mr. Liang Yinghua's query on Singapore's role in maintaining ASEAN centrality and unity and credibility is apt. Singapore stands ready to work with the ASEAN Chair, Cambodia, to advance ASEAN's community building and regional economic integration efforts. These include implementation of Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, which entered into force in January 2022. In our capacity as the ASEAN Smart Cities Network, or ASEAN Shepherd, we also hope to work with Cambodia, the ASEAN's current chair, to advance cooperation on smart cities. I am happy to note that thus far, 72% of the 65 ASEAN projects are being implemented in 26 ASEAN cities. Mr. Bikram Nair asked if there are potential areas that Singapore can develop further in our relations with India. India remains a key partner for Singapore. We continue to have active engagements in economic, security, and people-to-people domains. India has a vibrant and youthful population and a thriving tech sector, and its economy is well positioned to strengthen in the years ahead. India's economic growth will benefit the rest of Asia, including Singapore. Singapore is one of the largest foreign investors in India, with our direct investment abroad to India in 2020 standing at 66.1 billion Singapore dollars. As of 2020, there were 5,800 Singapore-based companies that either exported or invested in India. These include SMEs such as EnvironSense, which develops water toxicity monitoring technology, as well as another SME, Grammatics, a cloud-based video analytics service provider. We are keen to enhance our digital connectivity with India and are also exploring ways to develop more mutually beneficial partnerships in areas such as fintech, innovation, and skills. Likewise, Indian investments in Singapore remain healthy, standing at 25.78 billion Singapore dollars in 2020. Ms. Rayu Mazam asked about new areas of cooperation that we are exploring with Australia and New Zealand. With Australia, we are constantly exploring new areas of cooperation under our comprehensive strategic partnership. After signing the Singapore-Australia Digital Economy Agreement in 2020, we have launched formal negotiations on a green economy agreement in September 2021. The agreement will be the first of its kind once concluded and will facilitate trade and investment in environmentally sustainable goods and services. As for New Zealand, we are looking to refresh our enhanced partnership, and we signed an MOU on low-carbon hydrogen in July 2021, which will open up opportunities for our companies to build new capabilities and participate in global hydrogen value chains. So I understand that Mr. Giantampo is also keen to know about our engagement with emerging markets such as Latin America. In January 2022, the Pacific Alliance Singapore Free Trade Agreement, or PASFTA, was signed between Singapore, Chile, Colombia, Mexico, and Peru. The Pacific Alliance is a major economic bloc with a combined GDP of over $2 trillion in nominal terms. This landmark agreement makes Singapore the Pacific Alliance's first associate state that will open up more opportunities for our businesses through access into these markets and assurance that the investments will be supported by a robust trade architecture. The appointment of our first non-resident ambassadors to Colombia and Costa Rica also signals our interest to enhance our diplomatic engagement in Latin America. Our relations with the South Pacific also reached new heights as Singapore was admitted as a dialogue partner to the Pacific Islands Forum in 2021. This will enable us to better contribute to South Pacific's development journey by sharing our development experience through the Singapore Cooperation Program. Thus far, 5,300 officials from this region have benefited from our SCP. We also contributed seed money towards the relief and recovery efforts in Tonga after the volcanic eruption and tsunami in January 2022. Mr. Chairman, allow me to just conclude by reiterating MFA's commitment to enhance our ties with our global partners amidst an uncertain external environment, harness opportunities that emerge as we ensure peace and prosperity for Singapore and the region. Thank you.